What's up, everybody? My name is Brad and welcome back to the channel. Or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you stick around. If you're returning to the channel, coming back, thanks for coming back and hanging out. You might notice that things look a little bit different behind me than they usually do. For some reason, on Monday, I think it was Monday, I took a notion to take all the books off this shelf, actually moved it from this wall to this wall, put them all back on there in different order, moved my book cart over here. It looks a little bit different. The lighting is not exactly how I want it. I'm not the best with figuring out the lighting, but it's usable for now. Changing things up just a little bit, but that's all beside the point. That's not why you're here. You're here for a book review. At least hopefully you're here for a book review since you clicked on the video. Today I want to talk about The Possession of Natalie Glasgow. Glasgow. I think I'm going to go with The Possession of Natalie Glasgow by the one and only Hailey Piper. I read this a month or so ago, and at the time, before I picked it up, I was in sort of a reading slump. The books I was reading, I was enjoying them, but I was sort of at a snail's pace, just barely making any progress in them. I felt like I was sort of stagnant with my reading. I wasn't really in the right mood for those particular books at that particular time. So I wanted to read something that was short and sweet and something that I could, unlock that achievement, check that box off. For all you Xbox players, unlock the achievement for completing a book, finishing a book. So I picked up The Possession of Natalie Glasgow, and I burned right through it. It's really short. Blink and you'll be done with it unless you're interrupted by your kids. I read it on Kindle, and don't quote me on this, but I think it was about 66 Kindle pages. And it was one of the most unique and original possession tales that I really ever read. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It definitely broke me out of my reading slump. I got that achievement unlocked for finishing a book, and I just had a blast with it. So our story, it takes place in 1976, and from the very beginning, we're thrown right into the thick of it. There's not much build-up. We're just there. We're in this situation, and we find really quickly that something is wrong with 11-year-old Natalie. During the day, she's basically catatonic, dead to the world. You can do anything around her, and she doesn't really take any notice. But at night, what she becomes at night, what happens to her at night is something that causes even her own mother to hide in fear, to lock the doors, not go out until the sun rises once again. So Natalie's mother, she's sort of at her wit's end. She doesn't know what's going on. She's afraid for her life and her daughter's life as well. Doctors don't really know what's going on. They can't really figure anything out wrong with Natalie. So sort of as a last resort, as a last-ditch effort, she brings in this witch/midwife named Margaret Willow to figure out what's going on, sort of conduct this paranormal investigation, figure out what this supernatural phenomenon surrounding her daughter Natalie is. The story really gave me heavy sort of Conjuring vibes, vibes of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Part of that's it being set in the 70s, sort of the time it takes place. The other part was sort of the low-tech gear that Margaret has, at least compared to today's paranormal investigations. Basically, all she has gear-wise, tech-wise, is this tape recorder. She records, plays it back, listens to it. She also has some rituals and remedies and that kind of thing, sort of the witchy side of it. Not super witchy, but midwife, witch kind of thing. Overall, I dug the atmosphere and the setting. I think the 70s was a perfect setting for this story where it's not too overly reliant on technology, EVPs, video cameras, that kind of thing. It lends a more creepy atmosphere, a more chilling atmosphere where you don't really know what's going on, where everything cannot be explained through the use of technology, which I really dug that part. Throughout the story, Hailey Piper really nailed the sense of unease, this gradually mounting dread, this palpable tension, especially in that kitchen scene though. That kitchen scene actually made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up a little bit. While reading this, I genuinely felt like something was creeping up behind me, like I was being stalked. It's that weird feeling when you know you're by yourself, but it feels like you're being watched even though no one is around. Yeah, that's the sort of feeling I got throughout this book while reading it. While on the surface, this may just seem like your average possession story, but there's more going on than that. There's some undertones of motherhood, love, fear, and helplessness. Heather, Natalie's mother, she's basically at her wit's end, like I said. She's exhausted all of her options, everything she can do to try to figure out what's happening with her daughter Natalie, and it only seems to be getting worse. Whatever it is, it seems like Natalie's slowly degrading, slowly deteriorating, and there's nothing Heather can do to stop it. That's one of the worst feelings as a parent, is sort of sitting on the sidelines, watching your child need your help, but being absolutely helpless and powerless to do anything at all to help them. I don't want to give too much away, but I really enjoyed the ending of this book. I mean, it was sort of, in ways, a mirror image, a reflection of the emotions Heather was going through, Natalie's mother, throughout the story. It sort of brought all that back up again, but through someone else's perspective. And that's a bit vague, but I don't want to say any more about it. But I really dug the ending and how the story all wrapped up at the end. I could be a bit nitpicky and say I wish the story was longer. I actually do wish it was longer because it was really good. And I actually talked about that in the book buffet time the other day. The question was, if you could have a short story or novella expanded into a full-length novel, what would it be? And I chose this one. But this was Hailey Piper's vision. This is the story she wanted to tell. This is the length she wanted to tell it in. And if it was expanded into something longer, would it be as effective as it is in this format? Maybe, maybe not. If we got more character development, would we be even more invested in this characters and this supernatural mystery that's going on? Again, maybe, maybe not. Those are some things I saw in other people's reviews, sort of nitpicking about it. Again, this is the story Hailey Piper wanted to tell. This is the vision she had for it. This is the amount of pages she wanted to tell it in. So I think we should leave it as it is. Despite these potential what ifs, this was still a fantastic possession story, one of the most unique possession stories I've ever read. And if you're into possession stories, ghost stories, paranormal stories, and things like that, I highly recommend you checking this one out. The Possession of Natalie Glasgow by Hailey Piper takes these tried and true possession tropes and elevates them into something imaginatively fresh and different. It's full of creeping unease that will raise the hairs on the back of your neck, but at the same time, it's also full of heart and the promise of hope. If you have not read anything by Hailey Piper, I highly suggest you do so. I believe this is her debut novella, and this would be a great place to start with her work. That's it. That's been my review. I'm giving The Possession of Natalie Glasgow by Hailey Piper 4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the twist and the different take on the possession genre. Fresh, different, like I said, and I had a whole lot of fun with it. Something you can sit down and binge read all in one sitting. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for spending your time with me. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later.